you have been in this field for a very long time, if I'm not wrong.
Almost more than a decade now.
Yeah. And like, if I ask you to go back into your like initial days, how you started the whole journey, like you did it by yourself, was somebody involved with you? How did you do it? Like, how did you establish the Race Monkey?
First of all, Karthik, thank you for having me here. The Race Monkey is a product of desperation and a lot of content that was there in my mind around the automobile industry, which honestly is quite disastrous. So this all started off back in 2012, and even before that, when I was in school in class 11th and 12th, there was a website called blogspot.com, and that was the platform where people would write blogs about different things. And मेरे को बचपन से गाड़ियों का बहुत ज़्यादा शौक था, so much so that whenever I would go to school, and you and I have been in the same school.
I was about to say the same.
Behind every single notebook of my school, I would sketch cars. And
I remember
that passion sort of accumulated into what I'm doing today. So back in class 11th and 12th, and especially in class 11th, even that, after board exams in class 11th, we had too much time to spare. बोर्ड एग्जाम का कोई डर नहीं था, टाइम बहुत सारा था, लंबी समर्स की छुट्टियां थी. So I would act as a customer and go to car dealerships and take pictures and come back. And then I would write about all the cars that were launched in that time. And I'm talking about back in 2007. Slowly and steadily, I got into engineering because of my love for cars after class 12. My parents were completely against it. My dad wanted me to get into hotel management. My mom wanted me to become a doctor, pertaining to me having biology in class 12th. So it was something that I wanted to do out of my own will than something that was forced upon me. So I was also into professional motorsports, and back in 2012, I was selected by Mercedes-Benz for the Youngstar Driver program, where we were trained for a championship that happened in Germany, and it was a program that was run by Mercedes-Benz Germany in India. So I was one of the top 12 drivers who were taken to Germany for the championship. We had a 12-hour endurance there. And when we came back, there was this chief editor of back in the day, not chief editor, but he was the chief editor for Auto magazine, and he was handling majority of the automotive content on that. So he came up to me and said, after the press conference that we had for the Mercedes-Benz drive, as to that he was stalking me on my Facebook, and that he saw a lot of links that I had posted about me writing about cars. So he presented an idea that, why don't you write articles for our magazine? You would be writing 2 pages of an article for us. You'll get a fancy car for a week, month and a half. And all you have to do is a 2-page article on our magazine. I was like, cool, that's a very, very interesting and very beautiful idea for a 22, 23-year-old guy. कि यार आपको एक अच्छी गाड़ी मिल रही है चलाने के लिए. The first car I ever had as an auto journalist was a Mercedes-Benz S500. So for a 23 साल का लड़का जो एक 6.5 लाख रुपए की Hyundai i20 चलाता है to go to college, and I was still in the 3rd year of college. And for him to get a Mercedes S500 for the first time when he's just 23 was a big deal. मैं गाड़ी लेके हर जगह जा रहा हूँ, I'm getting all the attention, and it was insane. Slowly and steadily, I realized that whatever I was writing for the magazine, it was getting heavily edited. Because I was not writing as a journalist. I was writing as an engineer. My thoughts were presented as to how a car enthusiast, a racing driver, and engineer would write about his opinions. And slowly and steadily, even the editorial board of my then publication, they nudged me a little bit. Ishaan, you can't be so raw about your opinions, right? You have to be a little neutral. Yeah, I mean, because at the end of the day, it's business. It's money-making exercise for every publication to have a good relationship with the manufacturers. So they kept pushing the idea that you have to be very, very neutral about your words. You can't be very raw, very rude. If you don't like the car, you don't like the car. Just say, okay, there are some things that are not good, but otherwise the product is good, because the manufacturer at the end of the day would have a bad relationship, bad reputation with the publication. So I worked with that publication for good 1 year. And after realizing that this is where my love for cars is not really taking shape, although I was presented the idea of working with them on a silver platter, I stopped working with them. Then I moved to this website called, again, this is a website which was very, very popular amongst youngsters, and a lot of people were reading the content that was going on their website, on the social media pages. It was gaining quite a lot of popularity, and their chief editor then presented me, see, you have the access to the both international circuit, you have been racing, you have written for different magazines before, why don't you write for us, and we'll get you the access to all the great cars. I was like, cool. So with them, the first car that I had was the Audi RS7. Again, 600 some horsepower, great all-wheel drive car. The first stint with them, I took the car to the Buddha International Circuit, did a track day over there. But even with that publication, it was the same situation. I was not given the full liberty to write my heart out. I was not given the full liberty to really make a difference in the industry where everyone was seeking some sort of attention in some way or the other. Slowly and steadily, the entire ecosystem of social media gained its popularity. Instagram came, Twitter came. People started posting their content over there, and people were trying to push the narrative to create certain contents where it would attract a lot of attention, a lot of eyeballs. They resorted to creating cringe content around cars. I don't know how manufacturers deal with this, but they sort of liked the idea, and more such people came into existence. But I remember one particular day, my dad came into my room and he was reading an article about one of the Mercedes cars I wrote, and which I did not really like. And he told me, see, I'm not sure if you've written this, but I don't think so you've written this. And you're not doing justice to your passion for cars. I think you lied a lot, because when I was speaking to him about the car, I told that there are so many problems with it. And this was not a Mercedes car. This was an Audi. It was not a Mercedes. It was an Audi. And I told him, see, there are so many problems with it, and it's an expensive car, blah, blah, blah. But when the article came out on the website, he read it, and he was like, see, this is not something that I really appreciate seeing on the website, that there are all lies that you have posted. So that hurt me a lot. And I guess I left the publication after a week of that article being posted, and I started off TheRaceMonkey. It was, the idea for TheRaceMonkey is basically, it is a platform where I really want to put out the truthful word of what every car that is being launched in India really is like. So yeah, that's what the objective is.
Basically, the whole idea of RaceMonkey, in your words, is that you are being very blunt and very honest with your viewers when it comes to telling your opinion about a car, which you were not being able to do like earlier with all these big gigantic publications.
That's correct.
So, like, if there is any problem with any such car, you bluntly say you're open to making enemies.
Of course. See, that's what journalism is all about.
Yeah.
See, I'm not a journalist by my education. I've come into this industry by chance. It's not something I chose by choice. But as much as I enjoyed this entire process of being in this industry, being an automotive journalist, I also realized that 90% of the people who are in this industry are not really journalists. They are influencers. It's a sad part in our country, especially because if I compare it to the automotive journalists in countries like Europe or in United States of America, these people really truly bring out the realities of every product that's being launched in the country. Like, for example, there is this website called Haggerty that's run by Jason Camisa. And there is Carfection that's run by Henry Catchpole. There is Chris Harris. There are Tom Ford, who is now working with Top Gear. There was again Jeremy Clarkson, Richard Hammond, and James May of the famous
OGs.
the OGs, the original gangsters of the automotive journalism industry back in the days. They unfortunately left the entire ecosystem of Top Gear, started things on their own. But they were the most controversial people in the industry because they always spoke the truth. I'm not sure if you've heard of this story, but Jeremy Clarkson is known as the most controversial. He's called the king of controversy.
Oh,
He
No doubt there.
Yeah. So his review about a Vauxhall. Vauxhall basically is a brand that's under General Motors. So it was something very similar to Opel from back in the days. So there was this car called the Vauxhall Vectra, and the review of that particular car by Jeremy Clarkson was so significant in the industry and so negative for that company that it had to shut its entire factory in a matter of 3 months. So for an auto journalist to have such a power for his review to end up shutting down a complete manufacturing unit with thousands of people working in it is a huge deal. Why can't we have something like this in India? And that's why countries like Germany, countries like USA, countries like even UK, which has a lower overall economic rate than our country, enjoys much better cars than what we have. So yeah, I mean, we've just confined our industry to be pushed towards more of an advertorial. Like all these publications, all these magazines are basically a source of advertising about one's product than really being a journalist and talking the realities about what it is.